Alrighty, I know a lot of you have been sending me mail in the mailbag. I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate you asking the questions. You have to be a Daily Wire subscriber in order to have your question answered, so head on over to Daily Wire Plus if you have not already done so, and subscribe. Emmy says, hey Ben, I know you're very busy covering the Hamas-Israel conflict to check the mailbag. I was thinking, since this question relates to the atrocities committed by Hamas, you'd make an exception. What is the origin of anti-Semitism? It doesn't seem clear to me. With my people, it was quite clear. Skin color, comparison to primates, the elevation of Caucasians above people of color. But with Jews, I can't find one reason why all the hatred began, why it has spread beyond the Middle East. Thanks, and I hope your family members in Israel are safe. Okay, so the origin of anti-Semitism is effectively a giant conspiracy theory. So there are several different types of anti-Semitism, but where they all merge, this conspiracy theory that there's a group, a cadre of very powerful people who are pulling all the strings, like pulling the strings of a marionette, and they are the ones who are controlling everything in your life. It's the Jews are at the top of the Communist Party. The Jews are at the top of the Capitalist Party. The Jews are at the top of every single industry, but the Jews are also the lowest scum who are sucking off of wealth. Like, this is how the conspiracy theory works. Wherever you look, there hides the Jew. It's a giant conspiracy theory. And that goes all the way back to biblical times. I mean, if you look at the actual description of Pharaoh's courtiers to Pharaoh about the Jews, they're numerous in the country. They provide a threat to the country, right? It's this idea that the Jews are deeply dangerous, but also worthy of your ridicule and scorn. If you read Mein Kampf, this is exactly what Hitler says, that the Jews are a deeply nefarious and evil world force, but also they're disgusting and vile and terrible, right? This is always the story. Now, that is boiled down into a few different types of anti-Semitism. So you have religious anti-Semitism, which is the idea that Judaism itself is an inferior gutter religion, as Louis Farrakhan has put it in the past. And this has taken the form of the Jews killed Jesus and thus must pay the price lie that was promulgated throughout the Middle Ages, for example, in certain churches around Europe. It now takes the form in religious anti-Semitism in mosques. Jews are the sons of pigs and apes, and they are a gutter religion. They're terrible, right? That would be Louis Farrakhan. There is racial anti-Semitism. That really cropped up in the 19th and 20th centuries as a result of Darwinian evolutionary philosophy applied to the Jews. That was an idea that was promulgated by Houston Chamberlain, who was sort of the forerunner of Hitler, ideologically speaking. And that has now been picked up also by the Arab world, where, again, Jews are seen as literally like a lower species. And so the idea is that a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. So the religious anti-Semitism, the solution for Jews was to convert out of Judaism. When it comes to racial anti-Semitism, you can't do anything about it, right? Jews who convert Christian are still just as Jewish as other Jews, according to racial anti-Semitism, and thus are all lumped into the same category. And then you have left-wing anti-Semitism, and that's the conspiratorial anti-Semitism. The first two are sort of, they tend to appear more in sort of right-wing circles. And then the last, which is really the most dangerous right now because it's metastasized and spread throughout all societies, is the idea that there is a cadre of white people who are controlling everything around you. They are controlling finance. They are victimizing you. And who are the white people in the Middle East? The Jews. And the Jews are also disproportionately represented in major industries all over the world. And they connect with each other. And all they are seeking to do is control the world on their own behalf and victimize you in the process, right? That's the theory of anti-Semitism. It's all nonsense. All of it. Like from beginning to end, religious anti-Semitism, racial anti-Semitism, and left-wing conspiratorial anti-Semitism, the protocols of elders of Zion type stuff. All of that is nonsense, but it does have traction in areas where people are very unhappy with their own lives and seek to blame others for their own problems. Bobby says, Dear Ben, I'm a veteran using my GI Bill benefits to go back to school. I'm majoring in international affairs and hope to return to active duty service when I graduate. One of my classes is simply called terrorism. The class seems to be mostly about theories about why people resort to terrorism. My question is, how do I engage with my fellow students when the class seems to be about justifying terrorism? Everyone seemed to think these theories were ridiculous until what happened in Israel. Thanks for all you do. I mean, I think that the fact that you are a veteran, and it sounds like you served in areas where terrorists are active. Again, the reason that people engage in terrorism, generally speaking, is because they have hope for a utopian worldview that ends with them being able to kill babies. That's why, right? It is an ideological cause. It's not coming out of nowhere, but also the idea that if only we gave them what they want, then they just wouldn't be terrorists. Well, the thing they want is for you to die or convert. In the case of radical Islamic terrorists, for example. If you don't believe me, well, you should say this, by the way. If you don't believe me, you should look at what they say. They literally say the thing. So either you are a racist and you believe they're too stupid to be saying the thing they actually believe, or you might want to believe what they actually say. Again, there's this really, what Condoleezza Rice once suggested was the soft bigotry of low expectations that applies to brown peoples when it comes to white upper-crust liberals, particularly in the third world. And the idea is you have people in Hamas, and they're saying things like, I wish to murder every Jew I can find. And the white liberals are like, yes, but you are a person of color, and that means you don't actually believe that. What you actually believe is that you wish for a socialistic redistribution of the wealth. And it's like, that's not what they're saying. So either you're assuming they're stupid and incapable of articulating their own thoughts, or you are, which makes you a racist, or you don't want to hear what they're saying, which also kind of makes you a racist. Pure Talk announced last week they would alleviate $10 million in veteran debt by Veterans Day. How? By giving a portion of every new order to this cause. Thanks to your support, Pure Talk is 27% to their goal with 3 weeks to go. Our veterans gave everything to protect the nation. Pure Talk understands the sacrifices they've made. When you switch to Pure Talk's lightning fast 5G network, they will donate a portion of every new order to this noble cause. You can make a real difference just by choosing superior cell phone service. Pure Talk's plans start at just $20 a month, offering unlimited talk, text, more data, and a mobile hotspot. Just go to puretalk.com/Shapiro, make the switch. Let's rally together and show our unwavering support for our veterans. Visit puretalk.com/Shapiro. Switch to Pure Talk today. It's the right move. It's the American way. By the way, their cell phone coverage is fantastic. They have a great tower network. I know because I use Pure Talk for all of my calls. You should do the same. You're going to save money. Also, it's a company that doesn't hate your guts. So head on over to puretalk.com/Shapiro. Switch on over to Pure Talk today. Again, they are right now helping to alleviate debt for veterans. So you're doing something for a good cause as well. puretalk.com/Shapiro. Switch to Pure Talk today. The regular baseball season it's officially over now. That doesn't mean the fun has to end. That's because Prize Picks offers projections on pretty much every sport there is. NBA, MLB, NFL, NHL, PGA, college sports, esports, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, disc golf, whatever you are into. Prize Picks is the easiest and fastest way to play daily fantasy sports. You pick 2 to 6 players. You choose whether they will score more or less than their Prize Picks projection. You can win up to 25 times your money on a single entry. You don't compete against other people. It's you versus the projections. Plus, Prize Picks has a reboot policy that keeps your entries in play even if one of your players gets injured for NFL games, college top 25 football matchups. If you have a player who exits the game in the first half and doesn't come back in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with injury insurance. Go to prizepicks.com/Ben. Use promo code Ben for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Ben. Use promo code Ben for a deposit match up to $100. Sean says, hey, Ben, I've only been into politics for the past few years. I listen to your show every day. The past week has been very difficult to listen to. I understand why you're doing what you're doing on your show. I hear and read the views from the other side and want to understand why they use the word occupy and blockade. Are the people of Israel doing any of the things that would subject the Palestinian people to poverty and push them to these attacks? Or are the Palestinian people and Hamas just terrible humans with hate for Jews? So when it comes to Hamas, the latter. When it comes to many Palestinians, they've been indoctrinated by Hamas, by Palestinian Authority, by Islamic Jihad for literally generations to hate Jews. As far as the words occupy and blockade, Israel removed all military forces from the Gaza Strip in 2005. When it comes to the blockade, they are talking about Israel controlling all of the flow from, for example, the sea. The reason they are doing that is because they do not wish weapons to be shipped into Gaza. Can we think of a good reason why they might want to control the flow of materiel into the Gaza Strip? Are they doing that because they're mean and cruel? Or is it maybe because there's a terrorist group that, seeks to murder every Jew? So when Israel pulled out of the Gaza Strip, the answer would have been to, build. That would have been the answer. Let me give an example. When the nation state of Israel was born, 1947-48, it had been started by a bunch of Zionists, many of whom had been there for generations and centuries, but some of whom came from abroad. And when they decided to build the state of Israel, the idea was you bring in money and you build. You build things. You don't have a ton of support, but you do what you can. You work the land. You build institutions. You actually create things out of nothing, which is why this land, which was effectively a piece of garbage, swampland, didn't grow anything, no agriculture to speak of, no significant institutions to speak of. It's why this land suddenly is one of the top 25 economies on planet Earth with a grand total population of 7 million Jews in it. The reason for that is because when you are given a piece of land, you have 2 choices. One is you can use that as a weapons base to attack other people. 2 is you could actually build in this space. Singapore is more population dense than the Gaza Strip. Hong Kong, more population dense than the Gaza Strip. This is not about a lack of natural resources. This is about what do you want to do with the hundreds of millions and billions of dollars in aid that could have poured in over the course of 20 years to actually build institutions. And the answer in the Gaza Strip was, we are going to leave our people in poverty and we're going to build terror institutions. The reason Israel has had a quote unquote blockade, by the way, not just an Israeli blockade, the people controlling the southern border, that's Egypt. That'd be the Rafah crossing. The reason for that is because of the terror population inside the Gaza Strip and an extraordinarily sympathetic population inside the Gaza Strip to those terrorists. That doesn't mean that those people are quote unquote fair game. You can be a civilian and still have horrible, horrible thoughts and horrible support for terrorist institutions. But that is the reason there's a blockade. It's astonishing to me that people think that what Israel desperately wants is to keep people in penury and poverty rather than watch. What a boon to Israel. Let's imagine a utopian scenario. You know what a boon it would be to Israel if the Gaza Strip had done what I'm saying? You know how amazing that would have been for Israel? If that had become a thriving, moderate Palestinian Arab state in the Gaza Strip, with huge GDP. That would have been amazing for Israel, like incredible. It would have brought prosperity to the region. It would have made things more peaceful. It would have given somebody for Israel to trade with. It would have given them somebody to coordinate with on tech. I mean, this is like saying that America desperately wants Mexico to be poor and dysfunctional. That's not true. That's not true at all. America would love nothing better than for Mexico to basically be Canada. That would be great. But guess what? It ain't under Israel's control because the people who are running the Gaza Strip and many of the people who they've indoctrinated would rather kill Jews than build functioning institutions in this area. That is inarguable. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.